Okay, now this is what they're seeing.
Thank you.
Istungonjokayadega. Istungonjokayadega. Been a while, huh? We got a whole new, it hasn't been loaded yet, but I got a whole new conversational phrases. So, but right now we're going to start with, I'm going to start back over because it's been a while and I think everybody can use it. Sound. Sounds is very important to the Mvskoke language. And it doesn't hurt to study them and go back over them. So since we've had a week, we're going to go back over these sounds. Ah, G, I, E, B, he, A, G, le, me, ne, o, B, C, C, D, U, A, we, ye. Remember now, this helps you pronounce words. Without this, and what I'm going to tell you then, if there's some new people on here, forget English. And you wonder, how am I going to forget English? Well, you can look at these letters and don't look at this letter A like you would in English as A. Look at it as ah. Because our language is in sounds. Our language is in sounds. So you have to look at that A as ah. Okay? And look at G, not as a C, but G. And so that makes up our language. That's our language. We speak in sounds. So forget English as much as you can, okay? Forget English as much as you can. So you're going ah, she, I, B, he, A, G, le, me, ne, o, B, C, D, U, A, we, ye. Okay. This is going to make more sense to the ones that's never been in here before. As we go on to this, like we got ofki. Ah is an ofki. Ofki is like soup. Ayo. Ayo is a hawk. But now if you had to say that in English, it wouldn't make sense. You can't, and what I encourage my students to do is spell in a language. When I say forget English, and I'll guarantee this will help you, and I guarantee my classes. You will not walk out of my classes without pronouncing your words right or not learning anything. I'll put a guarantee on it. Because I'm not just up here to teach you to just say it any old way and speak any old way. I want you to learn the right way, okay? So I guarantee my classes. I don't just let you hang, and I don't say Fujo, because that's wrong. I don't want you to go around saying Fujo and Porsi when it's Fujo and Borsi. Okay, there's no such word as Porsi or Fujo. It's Fujo and Borsi. So, you know, to be a speaker in anything, if you want to be a mathematician, you do it right. When you want to be a speaker, you do it right. If you want to be a scientist, you do it right. So see, that's why this is very important in speaking the language. So I'm going to go back over this. Ah, as in afki. Ayo, as in hawk. G, as in chissy. Mouse, chissy, pumpkin. Jah gieben is 5. I as in Iga, that's a head. Ido, tree. Ipuji, sun. E as in Idalwa, Idalwa. That's a tribal town. Igana, land or world. You can use it. That's where situation and environment. And remember I told you, situation and environment has a lot to do with language. Has a lot to do with language. The situation, the environment. Ibagan is 6. Fee, as in Figi. Figi, that's a heart. Batja, batja, that's truth. Foshwa, a bird. He, as in Hishjag, means hello in our language. Hutki, hutki, that's white. Hungin, that's one. Now remember, I want you to know where your tongue placement is, how your mouth is shaped, how your jaws are puffing out, because the language is really prominent in the mouth, okay? So make sure that you pay attention to your mouth too. Your mouth is very important in the language, okay? A, now this is one that's confusing. I is pronounced A. Hey is hot. Legida, to set. Bakida, to who? Ghee, as in ghee, as in mulberry. Gajo, blackberry. Gabi is soap. Lee, as in litki, is to rub. Loja, turtle. Lamhi, our strongest bird, eagle. Me, as in mahi, mahi, tall. Mado, thank you. Me, just do it. When you wanna learn this, pronouncing your words is the #1 thing, guys. So you have to know this. Okay. Ni as in Najomi. Najomi. That's, you need to sign out, Coco. Okay. Najomi means how many. Noggin, what? Nodi, teeth. Now, I'm going to put this like nodi. I've heard some people say nodis. There's no plural like teeth. Like we don't have plural. We have to actually say the baby's got 2 teeth. We can't say istudinodis or didos. We have to say istudinodi hokolin or didos. We have to tell how many, but there's no plural sound, okay? O, as in oba, is an owl. Oshki is rain. Owa is water. B, as in busco. Busco. Busco, great. Boski, boski means our Father, and you can use this like our Father as in our Father who art in heaven, or our Father like a group up there with their dad, okay? Bomi, us. Thee. Now this is confusing. Everybody sees the R, but it's a thee. Thakko is a horse. Thee as is the bullet, a bullet, or an arrow, and that's the only 2 that it can be used for. A bullet and an arrow. Thatho, thatho is a fish. See as in sashakwa. Sashakwa. You see that sound? Sashakwa. That's a goose. Sadak is a apple. Soda. Soda is sky. D as in diniki, diniki. That's thunder. You know, I heard that all day yesterday. Thunder. Diniki. Doftolosi. Doftolosi is a chicken. And Dolosi, we just call it Dolosi now. But way back, they called it Dolosi. And that was chicken. Dochinen. Dochinen is 3. U, as in chola. Chola is a fox. And you can hear that. U, godi. Godi is a frog. Bojasi is the owner. Bojasi is the owner of something. Now remember, the first letter ah is long, and this is which we still get. I have a hard time. Maybe it's dialect or something, but sometimes we have a hard time hearing these, and we'll get confused. As in Jussie. Jussie is pumpkin. Budgie. Budgie is a pigeon. Udgie. Hear that? Udgie is corn. We as in wasco. Wasco. Okay. This is where a lot of people get confused. We don't hear a we in wasco, which is a chigger. But that's going to be explained as I go along here, okay? Wasco is chigger. Waga. Waga is a cow. Weesho is sassafras. Ye as in yaha. Yaha. And that is a wolf. Yufki is evening. And yanasha. See that? Yanasha is a buffalo. Okay, what I'm gonna, for you new people, if you're new, I wanna say that Mado, that means thank you for taking this class, and you just hang in here because this language is going away from our nation. And that's what makes the nation, is the language. That's the core of the nation, is language. And like I said, I was privileged to learn this language, and I speak fluently. And that was my first language, so my whole family spoke it. So I was privileged. I was privileged. And this privilege has, after I realized that the language was going away, this privilege that I took for granted, is teaching you guys. This privilege that I got to learn is teaching you. I didn't think, I didn't know that I ever would be in this position teaching language, but it has been, and it's been a blessing for me to know this language in order to be able to pass it on. And it's good to pass it on. So if you have children, brothers or sisters, and you're taking it, use it on them. Because just like me, once I am gone, it goes with me. Everything that I know will go with me. So I told the story on the last day of our last classes for people to carry on and tell that story. It was a story about the tornado that my mother told me way back. Okay, now here, this is where it's going to make sense to you, okay? Remember, this is a G. And you wondered, and like I said, you didn't hear it in some of those words. Well, when you put one sound and another sound together, you get the 2-letter sound, ja. G and ah makes ja. G and E makes G. G and I makes J. G and O makes Jo. G and U makes Ju. And G and makes Ja. Okay, see in that one, we saw Jussie, Jussie. That makes the word. Every one of these sounds that you're going to learn makes the word in the Mvskoke language. And that's why these sounds, I stress sounds to you new people that's in, I stress sounds. My job is, I'm trying to save this language. I'm not trying to change it. I'm saving it. And I take care of this language. I try to take care of it. That's why I want to make sure that you have your enunciation down right, you're doing it right, and I'm telling you stories of my own personal stories from my family that I want you to carry on. So a lot of this is personal for me, but it's who I am. Okay, so you go ja, chi, je, jo, ju, ja. Just see. That's a pumpkin. Just see. And remember I said that you don't hear chi, but when you put these two sounds together, you get this sound. Fa, fi, fe, fo, fu, fa. Ga, gi, ge, go, gu, ga. Like go, no, go no. This gi o and ni o makes skunk. Gono, gono. Those two sounds makes the word skunk. See how are these letters are sounds are language? Gono is a skunk. So learn these if you can, self-study. And that's what it takes. And I want to let new people know. I didn't know how to read and write. I just knew how to speak. I just knew how to speak. I didn't know no such thing as sounds. Excuse me. So it was hard for me to learn this. But once I did, it took a lot of self-study. It was, there were times I was so discouraged, but you know what? Discouragement never hit our people. And that's the way I thought about it. When we were walking, we could have been discouraged and thought, just quit, but we didn't. We made this trail and ended up in Oklahoma, and I'm privileged to be here too. So, because of my family, strength and determination. So when I thought of that, that's what pushed me to learn all these sounds. I practiced reading, writing, and I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but I learned how to translate and read it and write it. That was even a privilege for me. Okay, so fa, fi, fe, fo, fu, fa. Ga, gi, ge, go, gu, ga. Ha, he, hey, ho, hu, ha. La, li, le, lo, lu, la. Ma, mi, me, mo, mu, ma. Na, ni, ne, no, nu, na. Ba, bi, be, bo, bu, ba. Sa, ti, se, do. Okay, look here. The, do, the, do. The, do is a fish. Do, do, da. Sa, si, se, so, su, sa. Da, di, de, do, do, da. Wa, we, we, wo, woo, wa. Ya, ye, ye, yo, you, ya. Off, if, oof, oof, af. Ak, ik, ek, ok, ook, ak. Al, il, el, ul, 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 am, am, um, an, an, un, ab, ib, eb, ob, ub, up, as, is, ace, os, us, us, at, it, et, ot, ut, at. They sound weird, you know, because, you know, I know the first day I started school, first thing we learned was ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. And so it was hard for me to switch over. And your right side is your English language. Your left side is your other language, no matter what it is. It's the other side. So then, okay, you're going to put 3 sounds together. This is C, A, G. So when you learn your single letter sounds, you put it together, C, A, G, you get sock, 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 seek, sake, sook, sook, suck, lock, leak, whoop, lake, look, 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 moss, meese, mace, moose, moose, mus. Okay, mot, meat, mate, mot, moot, mutt, hawk, heek, hake, hook, hook, huck, hoss, heath, hace, horse, goose, hus, mock, meek, make, mook, mook, muck. Remember now, this right here was with the T, with the D sound, mott, and this is mop, mott, mop. Mon, min, main, mun, mun, man. Hal, heel, hail, hol, hul, hull. Knock, neek, neck, nook, nook, nuck. Fast, feast, face, foss, foos, fuss. Okay. Fush, wah. Fush, wah. That's a bird. See, putting these 3-letter sounds together, and that 2-letter sound makes a bird. Okay. Joss, cheese, jace, juice, juice, just. Juice. See. Da. Just da. Ki. Jostagi. That's eggs. See how these sound? Jostagi is an egg. They're eggs. So see, when you come up on a word, when you come up to a word that's Mvskoke, break it down into sounds. That's why this helps you. Jostagi. That's eggs. Okay. Spa, spee, spay, spo, spoo, spa, sla, slee, slay, slow, slew, sla. Yeek. Okay, you put yeek. Chi. Yeek. Chi. That's strong. Yikchi means strong. See how these are coming together, guys? This is how sounds work. And see, this is how you get your pronouncing down. This is, and if you come to a word, you can break it down in these sounds, and I'll guarantee you every one of these sounds are in a Mvskoke word. And pretty soon, as you study this on your own, you can read a 20, letter sound, like the biblical words. There's some in there that's 16, 17 letters long, sounds long, and you can break it down by learning this right here. Okay, so right here, if, hear that if, but if you say if, if, put the V to it, single letter sound, you got if, which is dog. If, see right here, off, if, but you put a to it, you got a dog. If. So see this, and this will start making sense to you as you go along and do all this studying and look at your words. When I first started out, of course, like I said, I didn't know my letters or my sounds. I would just get my dictionary out. And even the past papers that I gave you, break them down. Break them down. And I'll guarantee you, I opened that dictionary and I didn't know how to say one of them. Because I never heard of a dictionary, that there was a Creek dictionary. So you can do this. And you know, coming from a speaker, this is what made me what I am now. Being able to read and write, break down words, pronounce them, then whatever, you know, whatever I couldn't, because there's some words that was hard for me to pronounce. I got tongue-tied. Okay. Sla, slee, slay, slow, slew, slut. Right here. Yeek, yis, yit, yitch, yan, yak. Chim, like right here. Chim. Chimi. If you put two letter sounds together, chimi. Right here. I'm trying to be careful with this board or I'll mess it up. I got stick. Me. Chi-me means you. You put G and me together means you. Means you. Those two sounds means you. Okay. Chi-me. Fien. Gut. Ma. Kon. Han. Bon. Lof. Vat. Gat. Fies. Ska. Hal. Hat. Hum. Get. Jit. Lof. Ul. Hal. Okay, right here. Hulwi. Hulwi makes high. Hulwi is high, something high. Something high. Hulwi. See, you just made a word right there. Hulwi means high. So, you know, I always tell my students, study these sounds. Hut, hum, chit, loaf, ul, walk, sock, knit, beel, jock, walk. Okay, right here. Walka. If you put walka, waga, there's wa and ga. That's a cow right here. Look here. Wa ga. It's right there. Waga. Waga. That's a cow. See these sounds making words here? What was I at? Fit, fut, yin, ska, bon, tha, bok, laf, up, dat, chif, thak. Okay. So see how these sounds are coming in. And this is what I stress. I want to stress this. This is what I stress, is sounds. Because, and this is from my own experience. It's from my own experience. Yeah, no, this is da, D-ah. That's a long sound, da. But the T, the D, sounds as da. Yeah, I guess so in English, da. It would be da. Does that answer your question, Damien?
I'm sorry, I don't think I heard it.
Okay, the D and ah would make da, da. Like
Da.
that's da. Because this is a and then the D, so da, okay, da. If it was a D and a ah, you would say da, da. See, this is long, and this would be blunt, da, da. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay. So see, this is what it takes. And I want to tell you new people, I don't care how many questions you ask, and there's no stupid questions. Ask all the questions you want. If I can answer it, I will. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, because believe me, I'm right here where you were. I knew how to speak, but did not know any of this stuff. Because I wasn't taught. I mean, we just knew the language. We didn't know there was such thing as alphabet, the sounds, or even 2 and 3 letter sounds. There was no such thing, you know. I mean, there was, but we weren't taught that. So this was a new, oh, this was an eye opener for me. And I'm going to tell you, it was a sweat maker when I was in class. Because I had to learn them. Okay. Forms of greeting. This is, everybody says hishjay, but I don't ever use that hardly, just very often. Hishjay is hello, okay? It's hello. But most of the time I use is, don, go, okay? I want y'all to start breaking these up. Is, ec, is, don, the, o, ni, don, go. Is, don, go. Without problems. But actually, this is a literal translation in English, without problems. But actually, it means in a layman's terms, I guess, it's like, are you doing okay? Are you okay? Istungo. Imun gosa. If you go back to your sounds, this is where you find them. Imun gosa. Imun gosa. Everything the same? Everything the same. You around okay? Is dungun. Athaga. Athaga. You around okay? Is dungun. Athaga. And you're saying you're around. And every one of these words basically has a base word. So athaga is the base word for it is athida, which is to go around. Athida, to go around. Athaga means putting the ki and the ah at the end, saying you're around. Okay. The responses. If somebody comes up and say istungo, you say Tungo-dos. Tungo-dos. Dos is a filler like is, it's. It can be a filler for any one of those is, it's. Mostly it's is and it's, but sometimes it can change. Imungosa, everything the same. Imungosa. Imungos, everything is the same. Imungos. Imungos, everything's the same, because they'll ask you, everything the same? Imungosan. And your response would be, everything is the same, imungos. Imungosan, imungos. Istungon, athagan, you're around okay. Istunges os, istunges os, that seems to be no problems, okay? And this is some of the questions that's asked. And this is just like, you know, being, you know, every time somebody comes up to you and say, hello, how are you doing? You say, okay. And then you say, what about your family? Okay, right here. Abalwa tungon aboga. The rest living with no problems. And that means like in your household. In your household. Abalwa, like if somebody was to ask me, I'd say, yes, they're okay. But they would be talking about my daughter and her 3 children because they live with me. This is immediate, okay? Right here, abal doggy. Look at here. Here's the sounds. Abal doggy. Tungon. Boga. The rest living with no problems? The rest living with no problem. That's like your community family, your church family, your ceremonial ground family. They'll say abaldagi dungon aboga. See? Abaldagi means 2 or more people. 2 or more people. And then you say chinakta. Chinakta. How about yours? Or how about the ones that belongs to you? Okay, how about the one that belongs to you? You're making a response to them because they asked about yours. You want to know about theirs. How about yours? Or what about the one belongs to you? Chinakta. Any questions on this, guys? Yes, this is being recorded. So every one of these pages will be able to be, and even there's a recording. So you can hear this. How do you pronounce Mvskoke? Mvskoke, this is to Cynthia. Mvskoke is a grape. Now I want you to look here. B-A-C. Bus. Hear that? And you don't hear that C, but your tongue is on the bottom of your front teeth. Mvskoke. Can you say it? Mvskoke.
Mvskoke.
Put your tongue on bottom of your front teeth. Mvskoke. Because the C sound is in there. And this is where tongue placement comes in, okay? You don't hear the C in there real plain, but you'll hear that Mvskoke. Mvskoke. And the more you say it, the more you'll hear that C if you study your sounds. Mvskoke. And of course, go was in there, was in the sound, 2-letter sounds. Mvskoke. And these pages will be there to print. They'll be there. There's a recording too. Okay. So there's everything that it's going to be on. Okay. Okay. Here's greetings too. This is a kind of a greeting and response. And we did that. So right here, okay, I'm using hello today. Hishjay. Hishjay. If somebody says hello, what do you say back? Hello. So you say hishjay. But most of the time we put a handshake with it. We don't just say hello as far as native people goes. We shake hands. And that's more or less like respect and love. Respect and love. So hishjay. So if I say hishjay, y'all would say hishjay. See, there's that response. Is this on YouTube? I don't know if it's on YouTube. It may not be on YouTube, guys, but I'll ask, okay, and make sure that it is. I don't think it is. I think it's just on this right here. So when somebody comes up and say hishjay, your response would be hishjay. Hello, hello. How are you? Istungo. And your response would be yes. Chinda. And you? See how this is going? And this is more, this is just how different ways we got, so many different ways. And you, see, Jinda. Remember, Jinda means in you. Estungesos. I am fine. But this is how we greet each other. And then if you want to say it is good to see you, I put see. Can't even speak English. It's see you. It's good to see you. Chihijayat. He dos. Chihijayat. Here, see how it's broke down to those sounds? Chihijayat. He dos. It is good to see. Okay, right here. Chimiyo. Chimiyo. Remember, those are in your sounds. Chimiyo. You too. We haven't seen each other in a long time. Dihijigat. Dihijigat. Hofuni. We haven't seen each other in a long time. Mondos. That's true. Mondos. How was the family? How was the rest? Abaldagi. Dongon. Fulla. Abaldagi. Dongon. Fulla. They are okay. Dongon. Fullis. When you got two of these sounds like this, two consonants together right here, the L, Lili, you have to pronounce both of them, and you don't really hear it, but you'll feel it. Full. Hear that? When you get done saying full, that your tongue will come down from the palate of your mouth. Fulla. Fulla. They are okay. Dungon. Fullis. Dungon. Fullis. Yours? Chinakta. Chinakta. Okay. It is on YouTube. Okay, Mado, Mado, Mado. Okay. So any questions so far? Okay. We got about, boy, this class went by fast now. And language does go by fast, but you know what? We're going to stay on this for you new ones, and even for your past ones that's kind of forgotten, because you know, in between that week that we take off, a lot can be forgotten. And I tell my students at the college, missing one class, you've missed a lot. So we'll go back over this, and if y'all need to go back over it, it doesn't bother me to go over and over and over. And some people will say, well, I'm bored with it, you know, or we don't, you know, we've done this. We're going to jump to other things too. You know, we're going to be jumping around here. Like the other day, last week, I told a story of the tornado. That was a family story. And break those, take that story, break the sounds down, and you'll be able to read it. If you break those sounds down, you'll be able to read it. Okay? You'll be able to read that story.
Somewhere on the Saturdays that they have the Indian and church thing and the language classes.
Yeah, they're new. Some of them are new, really new, because I'm not staying on the same thing. I'm moving on, moving back, moving on. And when I see like somebody that needs to move back, I will. But it doesn't hurt the rest of them that's moving on, like sounds. Okay? Sounds.
About 5 or so. Like maybe I'll run you over here to the Coon Creek School Cemetery real quick.
Can you turn your mic off? Somebody's on their mic. So,
Miss Holler, your mic is live.
All right, these materials are on the links on YouTube playlists as well. Good. Some of these are recorded. If you need to hear it over, it's there. Okay. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. You know, I respect you. I always give a lot of respect for the ones that's taking these language classes. You know, taking these language classes because, like I said, you're the one that's helping me keep this language alive. I can't do it by myself. I cannot do this by myself. You're going to have to help me. And it takes everybody to help keep this language alive. And it's going to take you, you know, what I teach you You may be 1 in 500. That's the only one that knows that word. And that's what makes you unique. Our languages are identity, and we're unique. We have different beliefs. We have different ways of life than Europeans. We have a different way, and it's okay to be different. I like being different. And in fact, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a proud Mvskoke woman. I may not be like the woman next to me in Walmart, but she can be like everybody else, but I'm different. You know, she may think different, but I think different. She may not have the same ways I do, but I think I have the stronger beliefs. And that could be prejudice, you know, just being a little bit, you know, thinking that you don't have as much history. Yes, they are. That's what I think. Our ancestors are smiling, and we got to honor them somehow. Our ancestors had a long, hard road. And our ancestors are something that, you know, I feel like they brought this language because what they brought over here struggled just like they did. And you know they had a struggle, and the language came with them. And luckily, some of them were strong enough to bring it here and leave it with us. So it's been through those tears and blood and everything else, just like that person went through it that carried that language. And that's what, and I don't mind doing this. That's why I tell you, don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no stupid questions. If you need to go back over this, let me know. We'll go right back over it. It's something that needs to be kept. It needs to be kept because I feel like we're throwing when we throw in the language away, we threw our people in a trash can. But now that it's slowly coming out, we're slowly pulling them out. You know how you're going to sell? Well, this is my husband. He'll go and sell something at a garage sale and he'll take them back in the house. He'll say, oh, I didn't want to sell this. Then he'll think about it. Then he'll take it back in the house. So see, that's kind of what we're doing here. We're taking it back. Yes, some of it is close. There's some of it that you know, Spanish people, of course, we crossed. And of course, they're the one, you know, yeah. Like there's some words that are close, like ashokla. If you study it, there's some ashokla, which is sugar for us, but it means something. I think it means the same thing for them. There's some close words, even with Cherokee and Choctaw. We got some words that are close because we merged. We merged with Cherokee and Choctaw during the trail. We merged, and sometimes our words like Cherokee is wado for thank you, and we say mado. I can give testimony to this class in Mvhayv as I have learned so much. I am so glad you're learning yourself. You know, it's just not learning the language, but you're learning about who you are. And you got a true identity now. You got a true identity. And that's what makes you who you are. That's what makes you who you are. And, you know, this is just not about language a lot of times. That's how come I tell the stories and tell you little things in between. It's not just about language. It's about everything that goes with the language. And who I kind of shared a little bit about who I was last week. Last week I shared my life, how I live as a Mvskoke woman. It's not easy being a Mvskoke woman, you know. It's difficult sometimes to be a Mvskoke woman, but being raised a Mvskoke, it's a way of life. It's a way of life. It's my road of life. And I followed this road from my family. They followed it, and you know, you live by example. So what they did, I followed it. And so I carried on the language, and I'm teaching my daughters uh, all the ways of the Mvskoke people. And I'm going to share that with y'all here pretty soon, is like funeral ways, ceremonial ways, our ceremonial ways, um, our church ways. We got different rules that we follow to preserve that. And I don't know, a lot of times, a lot of them's forgotten, but you know, there's a lot of young people that's got to carry those ways on. So like in my family, you know, we have a certain burial way to do, which a lot of them, and some of them differ, but basically the same. My daughters know how to follow that.
Guy received the award at the end of last year.
So if you just hang in here, you will learn this language. It's not gonna be, you know, it's not gonna be overnight.
Last year, in fact, he quarterbacked.
Yeah, that would be nice. Okay. One of my reasons for wanting to learn is for my prayers, talking to my ancestors.
But now,
You know, that's a good thing. Prayers, you know, I was listening to some of the Creek hymns. Here not too long ago, me and my husband, sometimes we'll put a CD in and just listen to them. And, you know, they say that a lot of these hymns came from the trail. And if you look at those hymns, listen to them.
In the Big 12, I mean, Utah,
they do pertain. Somebody's mic on. Pertain to be
in Alabama,
like Istimikida Kubotayo. When I passed through, that's a song. And a lot of it is a veteran song, which it can be, but if you listen to it, it's kind of been something that the ancestors sung coming on that show.
It's the total back, great player. It's kind of
somebody's mic's on.
The hardest worker there. Teams that are great, they're best.
Somebody's mic's on. So, you know,
okay, maybe he's the last one there.
I listened to him and I told my husband, I said, you know, these prayers does.
That's what the ultimate purpose.
They, you know, they kind of describe that, what they went through on a trip. So, you know, and you know, just like in the Creek Bible, it's all written in Creek, but there's 2 Hebrew words in it.
I mentioned earlier.
And you know, I dug for those 2 words for about 3 or 4 months until I finally found what they meant. Because I didn't know these 2 words in the Mvskoke language. I never did hear them, but then when I started digging, I found they were Hebrew.
So that stuff is true, because you know they be saying like all the Indians like spoke Hebrew or something like that.
Yeah. You know, and actually there's a story that says that the Mvskoke people actually sat down with the Hebrew and translated the Bible. And you know, I went back to that story, and that's how I found it. When I found those 2 words, I thought the Bible is Hebrew. So I went looking for a Hebrew dictionary, and you know, I don't know, maybe it was things was on the side. The very person that worked in the school library had a Hebrew dictionary, and she said, let's look them up. And I looked, and we're in the Hebrew dictionary. And maybe I was supposed to find that. I don't know, maybe it was meant for me to find it. But I went through that, and she found them. She said, here they are. They were in the Bible, in the Mvskoke Bible. Okay, we got 1 minute left. 1 minute. So I will see y'all in Mvskoke, in Hayat. In Mvskoke is middle. In Hayat means the morning after the middle. So Okay, what were the two words? It's yeoman and Leland. If you look in it's in the beginning,
Now, maybe just
yeoman and Leland.
it's one of the great ever.
And I think a lot of it is we followed that book. We followed that book more than anybody else did. We followed that book. We followed the Bible. We followed everything that we pertain to. If you go to our ceremonial grounds, we follow those Bible rules. All right, Mado, guys. Remember, I have all the respect for you. Remember, there's no stupid question. If you make a mistake, ask all the questions you want. If I can answer them, I will. But
Mvhayv.
Mado, guys.
Mado, Mvhayv.
Mado.
It's a great, very personal relationship that also allows us